What's up guys, and welcome back to On the Brick with the first custom set of 2021. And what better way to start than with an actual custom set? Today I have for you Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, and this comes from Caleb Ricks, also known as ricksbricks.lego on Instagram. You can absolutely buy the instructions from him, and I will link to that in the description down below. However, this set is also sold as a parts kit on Dave Customs' website. If you don't know who Dave Customs is, he is the guy who has made the gunship, the ATTE, the dropship, those things for Brick Vault. He has his own website in which he used to sell instructions, but now exclusively sells part kits for sets. That's a very difficult thing to say for some reason, and one of the sets that he started trying that out with was this one. It sold for $99.99, and it did take a few months to get to me as he is in Germany and I am not. But what are my thoughts on it? Well, first, this set is only 330 pieces, and it is just under 10 inches long, about 5 inches wide, and only 3 inches tall. I'm not entirely certain if this is minifig scale, as I couldn't find anything saying so, but it does seem to be. In fact, here's Obi-Wan standing next to it so you can get a good feel of the size of this thing. And as I'm sure you have been able to notice, there are some really interesting techniques used throughout this set in order to achieve some of its angles and looks. But I am left wondering how much of that is actually necessary. It's not that hard to see that some of the center of my build isn't really smooth or flat, and that's because it's really hard to put those in there once they fall off, and it's really easy for them to fall off. To the surprise of absolutely no one, I'm sure, Brick Vault also sell minifig scale Jedi Starfighters, and it seems that they use similar techniques, but their design is a little more slick. And that's not to say that Rick's Bricks version is bad, because it absolutely is not. In fact, I'm capable of lifting this thing up, swooshing it around, moving it around, shaking it without any real issues at all. It's surprisingly quite strong and firm once you finish the build. While you are building it, you will probably run into some issues with certain sections falling off, as the individual areas can be fragile. Like I said, you are using a lot of illegal techniques in this build and putting them together in very strange and interesting ways. But they do actually make sure that you know how to put this together so that it doesn't fall apart. When you are attaching the wings, the instructions specifically tell you where to hold it and what to do, which really is helpful. And as you probably saw underneath, they did include some details like the landing gear in these 3 separate areas. They are extremely simple but work perfectly. You can lower them in quite easily, and just as easily pull them back out. Now, as you just saw, one of the pieces from the top did fall off, and it is one that I was talking about earlier. Unfortunately, there isn't a place to apply pressure from on the other side, which means it's a little weird to get this piece back in there. Of course, it is absolutely doable. One other section that I have had issues with is this top section here that will pop off if you put any pressure on it, but thankfully it is a single clip or usually a single stud to pop it back in, and it is really easy to do so. As you might have seen in the instructions, the 2 wings are connected by mixel joints or ball joints, I think they are, and it works really well and actually helps you get the angle that you need for this ship. There are 2 in the back and then 2 more up front here hidden underneath everything. And once they are on and connected, you're not really going to get them off. You can open up the cockpit and put a figure inside. I personally chose not to and probably won't because, well, there's nothing in there. It does have the studs to fit a figure inside, but it literally has no controls or command console or anything at all. It would be an extremely tight fit if it did, and probably more trouble than it's worth to figure out how to put those in there. So I'm not really going to complain about it or say that it's a negative, but it is something that I had to point out. Again, here's another shot of the front showing you that these areas are a little finicky. You can see that it's a bunch of small pieces lined up, not really hooked to anything, and also the droid head does not rotate. I'm pretty sure you can change that quite easily if you really wanted it to. And I also wanted to show off that the engines do have some good detail to them, and I like the amount of detail that he put into something that doesn't really get seen that much. Overall, this is a very interesting set. I did enjoy putting it together, even though it was a little on the fragile side, and I do like how the final product looks. There are a few choices that I prefer a little more on Brick Vault's version, but again, that doesn't mean that this is bad or that I don't like it. It is very much so a display piece, and even though you can swoosh it around, I really would recommend against doing that. And so the question is, was it worth the $100? Well, not really. Now don't get me wrong, I am absolutely not upset that I spent that amount of money, and I don't regret it in any way. I am more than happy to help and support someone like Dave. However, $100 for 330 pieces is a lot to ask for. A lot of the pieces here are fairly common, and even the ones that aren't really don't drive the price up like that much. So if this was closer to, say, the $60 range, I would say that's far more reasonable. I don't actually know how much it would cost you to get the pieces for this yourself, and obviously I know that Dave needs to make money in doing this, which is why I'm saying $60 should be fine. Now, with that said, I do understand the $100 asking price. Brick Vault's versions, which have slightly more pieces than this, do tend to go for about $75 to $120 to get the pieces, and because of that I just have to assume that this version is significantly cheaper to get, and because of that as well, it also ends up being a pretty good deal, as if you chose to get Brick Vault's version, you would be spending the same amount of money anyway. The biggest downside though is that Dave is based out of Germany, and so if you are in the US like me, you will probably be waiting a lot of time to get the set. Now, if you're in Europe, you'll probably be perfectly fine. But for that reason, I did have a question that I've asked before. For those of you in America, would you be interested in getting parts kits? It's something that I've actually put a good amount of research into doing and would love to do if the audience is there for it. So please do let me know your thoughts on that and this ship in the comments down below. Make sure to check out both Rick's Bricks and Dave Customs. You can find links to them in the description down below, as well as a link to my Discord or my Patreon, where you can join the likes of everyone you see on screen, including Jonathan, Jaden, JA101, and JVP1K. It is so weird saying so many J names. Please do remember to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and next week I'm going to be showing off some of your mocks. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.